Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's a wonderful day in Ward 3. My name is Olivia Diaz, and I'm the proud City Councilwoman for Ward elementary school teacher. It makes me incredibly proud to know that with these investments, we're leaving behind a better and safer community for the next generations of East Las Vegans. As a city councilwoman, my traffic and safety team and I have had many conversations about the need to complete the streets just a little west here and make sure that we're keeping them safe for everyone. Stewart Avenue, where we're standing right now, is home to 8 of our local schools. The project includes the reallocation of existing right-of-way to transform this corridor into a space that's safe and biking, using the bus or driving along 4.5 miles of Stewart Avenue between 6th Street all the way to Nellis Boulevard. Hundreds more kids will commute to school along the stretch every weekday once the project is complete in a safer fashion. And especially for those that live close by, they will also be safer when they have to take bus transportation, because we're also making changes to those stops. It's not hard to see why. Just look at this street. I don't want my students from my ward walking or biking to school on the narrow, sometimes incomplete sidewalks near this traffic. It's just not safe. And I know many neighborhood parents feel the same way I do. But this grant that the Biden administration has so graciously supported will allow us to completely transform this road. This tremendous investment from the Biden-Harris administration, especially their infrastructure law, is going to mean safer commutes for working parents and for their kids, for bikers and walkers and school bus drivers. Think of how important that is for all of our residents in our community, especially our young people, seniors, and entire families. Like so many other historic investments in the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, this grant is a down payment on our future, nuestro futuro, and its impacts will be felt for so many decades to come. Just like it makes commute safer for our kids, making Stewart Avenue more accessible opens up new opportunities for business owners like Jesus Ramirez Fajardo, who owns El Tarasco Flor de Michoacán just across the street. But before I turn it over to Jesus, unas palabras en español. Soy la concejal Olivia Díaz, represento orgullosamente el Distrito 3 aquí en el este de Las Vegas, y es un grandioso día para mí anunciar que con el apoyo de la administración Biden y la ley de la infraestructura, de mejorar la infraestructura de nuestras comunidades, hemos obtenido dinero de casi 24 millones de dólares que la ciudad también va a apoyar en realizar un proyecto aquí en este corredor de la avenida Stewart. Yo crecí aquí, caminaba en mis años de la secundaria por aquí para llegar a Roy Martin Middle School, y les puedo decir que esta inversión en nuestra comunidad es muy necesaria, y el presidente Biden tiene la visión de apoyarnos junto a nuestro gobernador en el estado de Nevada. Así es que, ¿cuál es el objetivo? Hacer que esta calle tenga más árboles, esté más segura, y todos los usuarios, no importa si están caminando, si están usando la bicicleta, si están conduciendo, que todos lleguemos a nuestro destino listos y seguros. Así es que muchísimas gracias por estar aquí y compartir este tremendo esfuerzo en conjunto desde el nivel federal, estatal y local para hacer este sueño posible. Y con nosotros tenemos un emprendedor, un pequeño comerciante que se encuentra aquí directamente enfrente del Centro Comunitario del Este de Las Vegas. Quiero presentarles al señor Jesús Ramírez Fajardo, quien es el dueño de El Tarasco Flor de Michoacán, que va a compartir con ustedes unas palabras.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Bienvenidos a todos. Como dijo la concejal Díaz, mi nombre es Jesús Ramírez y soy dueño de Tarasco Flor de Michoacán. Está solamente aquí en Cross Street. Y pues estoy aquí para decirle algunas cosas. Las inversiones de la ley bipartidista e infraestructura del presidente Biden, incluyendo los fondos del proyecto RACE, son importantísimos para los dueños de negocios como los nuestros. Los últimos años, durante la pandemia, fueron difíciles para muchos de nosotros. Pero desde que llegó el presidente Biden a la Casa Blanca, las cosas han mejorado. Desde el primer día que el presidente Biden asumió el cargo, él ha luchado por nosotros contra la pandemia para ayudarnos a superar esta crisis y salir más fuertes de esto. Así como las inversiones en programas de ayuda con la pandemia, las inversiones de ley bipartidista de infraestructura van a ayudar a nuestros negocios por muchos años venideros. Estos fondos federales van a hacer la avenida Stewart más accesible, que significa más gente caminando por la calle y significa más gente entrando a nuestros negocios. Estos fondos van a cambiar esta comunidad para mejorar. Por fin tenemos un presidente que invierte en la infraestructura de nuestras comunidades, que proporciona soluciones a los problemas de la comunidad, como mejorar las calles, ampliar las aceras y hacer nuestras calles más seguras. Proyectos como este van a mejorar la calidad de vida para nuestras familias y comunidades, empezando con proyectos como este en el este de Las Vegas. Estoy emocionado de ver lo que traerán los próximos años para mi negocio y para los miembros de esta comunidad que se beneficiarán de estas inversiones. Gracias al presidente Biden y a los representantes de la Casa Blanca que nos acompañan hoy, al alcalde Landrieu, al subsecretario Monge, a la concejal Díaz y gracias al gobernador Sisolak. Muchas gracias y pues ahora se quedan con la palabra del gobernador Sisolak. Gracias.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for being here on this important day that's really going to change the face of this area. And Councilman Diaz said it very well. We're really appreciative of everything that's happened. I want to thank her for her tenacity in making this project come to fruition. It doesn't happen without a lot of cooperation, and I got my Chief Nelson Harajo here, who has really worked with the federal government, with the City Council, to make sure that we can make this happen. I want to thank Undersecretary of Transportation Carlos Moje and White House Infrastructure Coordinator Mitch Landrieu, who's been an incredible friend to Las Vegas and to Nevada in terms of getting us infrastructure money and capital money. And thank you for joining us this week to discuss the work being done right now to build a brighter and better future for generations of Nevadans. The Stewart Avenue project that you're seeing today highlights just how critical investing in our infrastructure is, because it means investing in our neighbors. While we've been standing here, I've noticed a dozen kids walk down this sidewalk that are walking home from school. This will help make it a safer trip for those kids so that they're protected on the way home before tragedy strikes, and we're very thankful for that. Investing in infrastructure means creating a safer future for our kids, our students, and all of our families. Hundreds of kids, as you've seen, walk down Stewart Street on the way to school each year. My wife grew up a couple blocks from us here to the north. And once this project is complete, parents will be able to feel more comfortable as their kids walk to school. They'll know that their kids are safer, and they're safer as they walk to the market or to do their various chores. You're seeing kids walk by as I'm speaking, which is really incredible to see the impact that this is going to have. It also shows just how important jobs like this are for equity. In this area, many of our students walk, they take the bus, they ride a bike. And this will provide a safe transport for them to get to their destination. Transforming Stewart Avenue from a vehicle-centric roadway into a multi-use space, which is what we're doing here, helps all of our residents and businesses who live and work along this path. From planting literally hundreds of trees on this path, hundreds of trees will be planted here to provide for shade, updating our bus stops and widening sidewalks. This area will not only be safer, but will enrich our community with a more pleasant environment. I'm so glad to be here ahead of the first ever infrastructure summit tomorrow at the Las Vegas Convention Center. The other thing that this project does, and I never want to let this go without being noticed, is it creates jobs. a lot of jobs are going to be created as a result of this along Stewart. And those jobs, people can support their families, support their lifestyle, and be able to have a better quality of life. The Undersecretary, Coordinator, and so many more from across the state will be coming together tomorrow to talk about why projects like this are so important to them, to President Biden, and to all of us. As our state is receiving once-in-a-generation investments through the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act, we'll also be ensuring and discussing how we can ensure that these are invested efficiently and equitably all across our state so we don't leave anyone behind. And I know how important that is to everyone that's here today. It is my pleasure to introduce one of our very own small business owners right here in the neighborhood, Jesus Ramirez Farajdo. Jesus, you're up next. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Soy tan feliz de estar con ustedes hoy día. It is a day to celebrate. First, we should celebrate because the city of Las Vegas, with the support from Governor Sisolak, put together an incredibly strong application to the highly selective and very prestigious RAISE grant program. The Stewart Avenue project will redevelop this neighborhood to serve the local community, creating safe, accessible, non-motorized transportation options by reducing vehicle speeds, creating a dedicated bike lane, improving the sidewalks, and planting hundreds of trees. Which brings me to the second reason to celebrate. The fact that this year we have the resources to take more incredible projects like this one from the wish list to the construction schedule than we ever have before. The RAISE program more than doubled since last year because of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. This is a law that President Biden championed, that Secretary Buttigieg, who is my boss at the Department of Transportation, barnstormed the country to build support for, and that would not have been possible without the leadership of Senators Cortez Masto and Rosen, Representatives Titus, Lee, and Horsford. Because of their support, RAISE grew from $1 billion a year to $2.2 billion this year. It's more than double. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law for my department has more money for roads since the creation of the interstate highway system, the most money for rail since the creation of Amtrak, the most money for transit ever, the most money for transit in the history of this country. It gives us unprecedented tools to make our transportation system safer, cleaner, more equitable and efficient, and to finally get this nation the great infrastructure that we need and deserve. We also can celebrate because we are at a special moment for infrastructure, not because of all the resources we have, but also because we have a leader like Mayor Mitch Landrieu leading our efforts to implement the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Mitch Landrieu served as mayor of my hometown of New Orleans from 2010 to 2018. He knows what it is like to take a big project from a dream to the streets. He knows what it means to lead a city, and he's pushing our team really hard to get the job done. Finally, we can celebrate the fact that last month President Biden signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a victory for lowering costs for families, for combating the climate crisis, reducing the deficit, and making the largest corporations finally pay their fair share. The law also includes additional resources for DOT to continue our momentum, reconnecting communities that have been divided by legacy infrastructure projects, people who are literally on the wrong side of the tracks, and to invest in lower carbon and sustainable aviation fuel. From the American Rescue Plan to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, to help for veterans suffering from exposure to burn pits, to investments in American semiconductors and science, to the Inflation Reduction Act, President Biden is delivering progress and prosperity for America's families. Congrats again to Las Vegas. Thank you, Governor Sisolak, for the invitation to get out here. We look forward to coming back when you cut the ribbon on this project and to seeing how it's going to impact this community. So thank you. Mayor Landrieu.
Thank you. That was my dear friend who is also from New Orleans but's working in Washington, D.C., Undersecretary Carlos Monje, on behalf of Secretary Buttigieg. And I'm thrilled to be here on behalf of President Biden. Governor, thank you so much for having me back. Councilmember Diaz, thank you so much. Jesus, you did great. Like Jesus' haircut. We getting around the country on that one. It's great to be here in this very, very special place. You can tell when your feet actually hit the ground how fantastic a community this is because of the people that are surrounding us. And so on behalf of the president, let me say thank you for all the work that all of you have done to make today a reality. The president said that if you elected him, he would use his power to lift people up, not push them down. He would use his power to bring America together. He would use his power to build from the ground up and the middle out. And when he said from the ground up, he meant by seeing the faces of people like Jesus, or the young lady who I met just a minute ago, whose first day of internship, she's a student, or the teacher that I met, or, by the way, you can't see him, but that fella who's crossing, the crossing guard that's crossing all these students across that street from their learning space to safety. I was a little kid, grew up in a neighborhood called Broadmoor that was not a whole lot different from this. My mama and daddy had 9 kids in 11 years, and they scooted us out the door in the morning to walk down the street, and my mother prayed that we would get to and from school safely. I think she prayed that we did pretty well in school during the day, but she was worried about whether we got to and fro. And over time, we built up communities that made it hard for kids to get to places back and forth, and then we let transportation corridors like this separate neighborhoods and make it hard for us to cross. The president said that he was going to pass a bill that brought the country together, which is what he did, a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, an amount that has not been put on the table like that since we built the interstate system when Eisenhower was the president. It is, in fact, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to rebuild roads and bridges and airports and ports and waterways, to make sure every young kid here has access to high-speed internet, because the president and the vice president know that knowledge is the great equalizer, and they use this bill to level the playing field, and also to bring us into a clean energy economy that's actually going to help us get from where we are today to where we need to be so that we can save our planet and deal with issues like water, which we're getting less of, and getting into places that need it the most. But on just the infrastructure side, the president said, make sure this money gets down to the ground in the communities that are across the track. I don't know about where y'all grew up. I think y'all grew up the same place, but everybody said where you live, it was always across something. Across the street, across the tracks, and forgotten few were places that never got money. And this president just 10 months ago passed this bill. Within 10 months, this RAISE grant has hit the ground on this corner, in this space, where everybody that's standing around here actually lives. That's what the president meant when he said, I am not going to leave anybody behind. And I want to do this in honor of and in favor of individuals with names and faces and places and small businesses and schools and communities. This is what he meant. So we have a president, as Carlos said, that said he was going to deliver and then in fact delivered to this neighborhood, in this community, that's going to improve not only the entire city, but the state as well. This is not possible without great coordination on the federal level. So I'm thankful for Secretary Buttigieg, but I'm also recognizing that it can't be done if you don't have a governor and you don't have a city that's working with you. And in this instance, your governor has been unbelievable. Your governor's been to see me many times in the White House. He's seen the president a number of times. He is constantly pushing as hard as he can to make sure that this state not only gets what they deserve and what they need, but as much as they possibly can in all of the areas. And by the way, there has been a substantial amount of money that has been delivered to this state because of this governor's hard work. So, Governor, I just want to thank you for that. And, of course, to your senators as well who have done it. And the governor mentioned the council member. It doesn't work if it can't get to the ground. And if there's not great coordination between the federal, state, and local officials, it actually doesn't happen. So I want to congratulate all of you for something that you already know. You learned this in the school that you went to, is that if we work together, we can do the great things. And as the president said, don't ever count the United States of America out. There is nothing that we can't do if we don't do it together. And all of you have demonstrated for the rest of the country what success really looks like. So God bless you all. Thank you. And Governor, thanks again for your leadership.